history of the Nazi Party due to some recent events in the world, obviously with a certain rapper. I think we all know who he is. So I just wanted to put this up as my first video. To, well, yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. So, what are the origins of the Nazi Party? After World War One, the country was in turmoil. The monarchy was overthrown and replaced with a republic. Inflation was out of control. During this turmoil, the far right began to spring up and blamed the Jewish population for Germany's defeat. The hatred towards the Jewish population is not new to Europe and will be covered in great detail in later videos. In September 1919, Adolf Hitler, on the orders of his army superiors, attended a German Workers' Party meeting. He then became a member and was later recruited to a leadership role. By this time, Hitler changed the name to the National Socialist German Workers' Party. The newly formed party called for a strong state to lead the master race. The National Socialist German Workers' Party grew under Hitler's leadership and gained many members. Many new members were part of the military, big business, and German society as a whole. By this time, many radical groups joined the National Socialist German Workers' Party, growing its base bigger. Oh, and something very cool here. Well, not cool, but I guess a side note is that Volkswagen is actually founded by the Nazi Party, which is thing. I think it's like German something. You can look it up on Wikipedia, but it's an interesting story if you want to look farther into it. Moving on, by 1921, a paramilitary group was organized called Stormtroops, and then this is more like German state, so I kind of left it for another video. The Beerhall Putsch, I think I pronounced that right. On November 8th and 9th of 1923, Hitler and his followers staged a failed coup attempt to control the Weimar Republic. They believed this coup attempt would inspire a national uprising against the Republic. After this failed coup attempt, 14 members were killed and Hitler, their leader, and their leader was arrested and charged with high treason. While in prison, Hitler made a book named Mein Kampf, or My Struggle. So another side note is that this book is actually still sold till this day. Like I remember I went to the bookstore recently and I actually saw it on the shelves. I wanted to buy, well, I didn't want to buy it, but I was very surprised that they had it still in stock or still available to the public. After Hitler was released from prison, the National Socialist German Workers' Party was re-established as the Nazi Party. The Nazi Party grew more in size and by this time established branches in regions, villages, towns, and cities. By this time, the party had a top-down system where people were appointed rather than elected. All appointees answered to Hitler. The Reichstag elections of 1928. By 1928, the Nazi Party's membership size quadrupled. During the election, only 2.6% of the vote was won. 12 seats were taken during this election. The Nazi Party began to target groups who disliked the Republic and feared socialism and communism. By this time, auxiliary organizations were founded to appeal to youth, university students, etc. 1930 Reichstag elections. The economic collapse of the late 1920s and 30s contributed greatly to the Nazi Party's success. Many Germans were angry with the situation, and as the far right's voice became louder, many started to listen. In this election, the Nazis won 18.3% of the vote and 107 seats. In this Reichstag, this election made them the second largest party in parliament. 1932 Reichstag elections. By this time, there were at least 400,000 members, about half the population of Delaware. In the 1932 elections, the Nazi Party became the largest party in the Reichstag. They won 37.4% of the vote and 230 seats were taken. The elections were held again. This time, they won 2 million fewer votes and the seats dropped to 196 with 33.1% of the vote. 1933. Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany with a coalition government. This government was not just the Nazi Party, but members of the Conservative Party as well. These members believed that Hitler's government could amend the Constitution and create an authoritarian state, and we all know where that went. Germany became a one-party state under Hitler. The government was brought swiftly under party control. The press became very oppressed under the Nazi regime and restricted stories criticizing the new government. On February 27, 1933, there was a fire in the Reichstag, severely damaging it. This gave the Nazi Party the leverage to declare a state of emergency in Germany. This gave them the power to abolish civil liberties and take over state governments. And just a side note here, a lot of people think there was some conspiracy to actually set it on fire. Like they think it was actually under Hitler's orders to set the parliament on fire so they can seize more power. But again, you can look on that or future video. During the March 5th election, the Nazis won 44% of the vote, narrowly winning the majority with the help of its coalition. The Nazis did not control all aspects of, of government, but worked to control all aspects of German life. The process was called coordination. All political parties were abolished by 1914. 1933, and Germany was declared a one-party state. Business, artists, and workers all came under Nazi organizations. Almost everything from sports to TV came under Nazi control. And going back to the workers they went on to run Volkswagen, as we talked about earlier. Nazi Party in power. By this time, the Nazi Party is well into power. All Germans were expected to attend Nazi organized events. The top-down structure remained, as again talked about earlier. By this point, the Nazi Party began enacting laws that prevented large majorities of the population, especially the Jewish population, from having a normal life. And this is the defeat and aftermath of the Nazi Party. So I skipped over quite a bit because other videos will go deeper in depth into like everything that happened from the start to the end of World War II. After the war, many members of the Nazi Party were put on trial for crimes against humanity. Many were executed. Some escaped, famously to Argentina. Then others ran organizations, famously one became head of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. This man's name was Wernher von Braun, and that will be talked about more in the future. If you're a space fan, you'll know exactly who he is. Till this day, the Nazi Party is banned from Germany. And before I finish this video, I'd like to give a special